Alright, thanks Cranky Cow. Ready, Grumpy Trev?
Yeah. Those cameras aren't really aligned, are they?
Nah. G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today, well, we actually have this little crazy bad boy right here, and honestly, this looks like a mad scientist's FPV quadcopter because, I'm going to flash some pictures on the screen, but have you ever seen something that have you ever seen a drone that actually looks like this? So I've got split level, and probably the most exciting and crazy thing, this thing has some definite homebrew or some budget 3D FPV options. So when we're flying around, we're not just going to be getting the normal depth perception, we're actually going to be getting some 3D, some crazy, like, I guess, depths of field as we're flying around. And if you haven't flown 3D, it is a really cool experience. Anyway, what we're going to be doing in this video, we're going to stick it on the bench. I'm going to quickly go through sort of how the horns goes together because honestly, it is a bit of an insane looking drone. And then most importantly, we'll take it out, we'll fly it around. I'll show you guys my reactions and also Grumpy Trev's. Alright, enough rambling from me about this crazy little insanity drone. Let's stick it on the bench and get started. So here's the little beast on the bench, and I guess, you know, with a name like the horns, you can obviously see it's taken off the rhino right here. So we've got some little, it's trying to make it look like a rhino anyway, but to be honest, I wish that was just flat. Just how functional is this sort of crazy quadcopter? So look, I'm going to flash some pictures on the screen, but from the side you can see it's pretty crazy. So we've got the props on the front are on the right way, and then when we go to the back, it's at a split level system, so the props on the back are actually upside down, which is you know, a little bit different. I did a review a fair while ago on the Firehawk, and if you haven't seen that, you can leave a link to the video up here, and that was the first frame that I'd encountered with this split design, and I thought it flew really well. But are you going to get that performance in such a little quad like this? Is that going to make such a difference? I don't think so, but they have had to do it that way because otherwise, if you had this, the props would be smashing into the camera. So it's a fairly clever, simple solution to get your FPV footage split out this far, especially on a 3D quad, you know, so you're not directly hitting your props. So I guess the big one here, let's talk about the FPV cameras, because this one, you won't see too many other quads out there, whether it be micro or even full-size quads that are rocking 3D FPV, and most of them have a pretty special solution. So what they do, they have like their proper FPV camera that you can see, and it actually is a dedicated 3D camera. This one right here, this is going like a homebrew budget version. It's taken it to the ultra cheap level, and all it does, it just rigs up two of these little VTX camera combos. You set the channels and then you're ready to rock and roll. Now they are a pretty good distance apart, and when you're flying this around, we'll show you some footage and some fun towards the end, some actual of it flying around. You do get some pretty good 3D FPV. I felt like they were a good distance apart for my eyes. You do get some great depth perception, but the one part I'm a little bit concerned about is if these are out of line ever so, you know, just a little bit, if they crash or move or come out of focus, you know, you can see they can move independently from each other, and they're only really held on by some little sticky pads. So I'm gonna have to put some rubber bands or something around it. You're going to get some pretty sketchy 3D because it definitely needs to be facing the right direction. They both need to be aligned properly to get the best effect out of it. You don't want to have one eye looking really good and the other one a little bit blurry or something like that. So look, that is something you're going to have to deal with if you've got, I guess, this bit of a homebrew selection. Now, let's get in very quickly to look at the guts. So we've got some of these little props. We've seen these a ton in the past on the AR Fun, in the Lizard 95. I'll drop a micro playlist up here as well, or it might be at the start of the video, some of those tiny little micro quads. And on here, we've got some, these are just the real ACC motors. They're 1104, 7,500 kV. They can take a 2 or a 3S LiPo. This one does ship with a 2S LiPo, but honestly, I don't think that's how most people are going to fly around with it. A little 3S is going to be offer you a lot better flight time, a lot better performance, and especially if you're just coasting, you're going to be able to fly around for a lot longer. In the middle right here, this is where you've probably got the little star of the show, and they do sell these ones I know separately, so I'll leave a link to that down below as well, but they're really cool little fly key tower, and they've got little 4-in-1 ESCs that are rocking D-Shot. They've got an F3, sort of I guess a clone of the Furious Pico board, the BLX, and then on the top all we have is our buzzer and also our FPV system. So overall, look, it's not our FPV system, sorry, I should say on the top we have our buzzer and also our little receiver, and this one's great because it just simply binds up to my FlySky Turnigy Evolution. There's a whole bunch of different ones you can get, whether it be FreeSky, a whole bunch of different boards you can get, so it just simply binds up, and it does make for a really nice little solution on the top. Now look, everything's not perfect on here. We're going to stick it on the scales, so we'll find out how much it weighs. It is going to weigh a little bit more than your traditional micro quad, and that's because look, it's got a bit of extra carbon in here. It's carrying, I guess, an extra camera as well, so it's coming in at about 75 25 grams. One little change I would like to make, I did find that when you're mounting your battery, and most of it has to do with the battery. I'm okay with the frame shape and the size, except maybe get rid of this part, because look, it's just completely useless. You know, I don't need these little spiky parts. If anything, they're going to hurt if they crash into you and add extra weight. Chop off the back part here. I would love to have an XT30, so I think that would be much better. And then when you're mounting your battery, it really is quite difficult. So if you're going to mount it on the top, it's going to slide around a little bit. And look, there was a little battery lead that came through here, but it was a little battery velcro strap, but that made it just a little bit too difficult. It didn't sit very well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a little piece of foam. You can see this is my bit right here. It fits perfectly. I'm going to be strapping the battery underneath and sort of really securing it down with a rubber band, because at the moment, there's no real good way to secure your battery, which is a little bit of a shame. Velcro might work, but you know, when you're flying around, you want to be able to change your batteries easily, and this one, it doesn't have a very good solution. But I'm sort of willing to forgive that, because I know this isn't about performance. I know this isn't about having the best tuned craft or anything like that. This one's all about offering a cheap 3D FPV experience, and if you haven't done it, honestly, it is a lot of fun. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to jump out to the field, fly around, and have, you know, talk about what it's like to actually fly around with this little bad boy and show you guys some 3D FPV. All right, let's cut out to the field in 3, 2, 1. All right, out here in the field, we've got the sky zones. I do need some antennas, so you snappy viewers, before we start pointing that out. But we're going to be checking out the Horns 100, and the reason that's pretty exciting is because it's a 3D quad. So what we're going to do, we're going to fly around. I guess we'll get my reactions, and we'll also hand it over to Grumpy Trev and do some 3D sort of stuff. Won't be super fast, but it is going to be super fun. All right, let's do it. Alrighty. I'm getting a few little jellos, but 3D is fun. It seems a lot more stable than the Owl. Oh, and also very quick. I'm going to put it in angle mode or whatever you call it. Alrighty. I do find the cameras are a little bit out, if that makes sense. A little bit sort of not as focused as the original Sky Zones. Low around the trees is a lot of fun. I'm going to go through the grass. Getting a little bit of breaker. That's a bit disorientating. But I reckon if you had some oh, that's cool. Going through the gates is cool. Nothing, you don't want to go fast or crazy or anything like that, but just floating around doing some little proximity is a lot of fun. I do think it's a bit susceptible. Like if you have a crash, you're going to readjust your cameras every time. They definitely need like a better mounting system or something, because in a little crash, it's going to be done. Oh, you got to have a go at this, Trevor. How fast is it? We should give it some stick. It's quick for a little thing anyway. Oh, that's disorientating, having that 3D effect. Oh, that's cool. Going around us. Oh, around us looks cool. Yeah, it does look 3D. Good depth perception. Oh, you want me to go through?
Yeah, go on.
Trevor?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go forward.
Right.
I'm going to cut your legs up. This is not a good idea. We should probably talk about more about the 3D part. So definitely a lot of fun. The quad feels good, a little bit jello-y, but oh, I'm down. You know, needs a bit of refinement, I would say. So it's not the best. It's still getting that cool 3D effect, and I think for $100, you know, it's probably that you're getting the whole quad for the price of the camera. Step in the right direction, but I do think it needs a little bit of work. So look, I didn't find it quite as nice as the first time I did 3D, but it still was awesome fun to fly. Anyway, let's hand over to Grumpy Trev, see what he thinks. All right, Trevor, let's go. You got your eyeliner on? I mean, your Sky Zone V2s on?
Oh, here we go. Oh, this is freaky.
Oh, flat battery?
I think it was a flat battery.
Okay, hang on.
Oh, can't say much about that.
How many Kelvins does it take to change a battery? More than me, because I just seem to put flat ones back in.
I don't know where to put my fingers with those little cameras.
It is fiddly, isn't it? Alright, thanks Cranky Cow. Ready, Grumpy Trev?
Yeah. Those cameras aren't really aligned, are they?
Nah.
Geez, you're ugly in 3D. Oh, that's normal. Can I arm it? I can see these fingers.
Alright.
Ooh. The camera's not really lined up 100%. It's alright. It's fucking hard to fly. Oh, that's better. Look, I'm flying too high. When you get down low, that's brilliant. That's fun. You got 3D experience down low. I think these goggles are fogging up.
Did you find it's a bit out of focus or something?
I don't reckon one of the cameras is quite lined up. Yeah, look, I don't mind it.
Did you prefer this over the Owl?
No, I prefer the Owl because they just haven't done enough work with it to line the cameras up properly. Mm-hmm. It is nice and smooth. I think if we worked on the cameras a bit, it'd be all right. You certainly need stuff around you. That's shit to fly otherwise.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because it's 3D, if you're flying it up high, it's not exciting at all. If you're flying it down low, around trees, it's very easy to fly. It is so easy to fly slow, but once you get away from objects, it's harder to fly because it really picks up how bad the camera input is. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go up to this tree here. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. When you're flying low, it's really, really nice. If you've got 3D goggles, it's a bit of fun. I mean, you could certainly get used to it, but it's not a machine you can go and fly up in the air with because you're not going to get the 3D effect. You have to be flying around proximity to get the 3D effect out of it. Look, it's all right. Good try to see something small like that, but I wouldn't rush out and buy one myself.
That's all right. Give it a grumpy Trev rating out of 10 then.
Look, I'll give them 7 for trying. They really need to work on the camera mounts.
Yep.
Because I found that really hard. Am I cross-eyed? Fun for the experience. It goes on the crapper-meter, that one.
Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review of the Horns 100, and for a 3D FPV quadcopter, do I like what this thing is trying to do? Yeah, I think this is a ton of fun. And if you haven't tried 3D FPV and you've got if you've got a spare set of oh my gosh, I can't talk. If you have a spare set of Sky Zones around, these things, you know, it's an absolute blast to fly around 3D, but does the Horns 100 execute it as well as like the official Sky Zone camera? Not really. Like, the flight performance is fine. It flies around fine like a normal micro quad, and I like the components that are in here. I really like the ESC setup and everything. You know, I think especially those little fly key towers, I think that's fantastic. If you want to get those, I'll leave a link down below to where you can just get the, I guess, the internals. But regarding the cameras, they're just a little bit too off-center. I don't like how, you know, they're sort of held on. I've held mine on by rubber bands and foam. In a crash, it's going to move them around, and if you're looking at two different directions, if these cameras are out ever so slightly, it makes the 3D effect really disorientating. So it's not quite as on point as it should be, which is a shame because when you're flying a quad like this, that's why you're doing it, so you can get some 3D FPV. So what do I think I guess in summing it up, I'm not the biggest fan, unless you could fix some way of the cameras. So what I really think I'm going to need to do is 3D print a proper mount that can just go across the top, and that's going to squarely get your picture aimed up properly. The cameras aren't going to move around in a crash, because at the moment with rubber bands, it's a bit of a shame. But if you've got some designs for some of these little cameras that we can just simply screw in, and it's going to hold it really square and in the right place without it getting misaligned, I think that's really important. Because if that was fixed, you know, a little 3D printing mount like that, or, you know, the guys who make these, if you want to fix these, definitely just put some little 3D printed mounts in there that hold the cameras out straight, and then you'd be definitely on to a winner. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying. On a little side note, I don't know, the guys over at LaForge or like Fury, whoever's making the modules for Fat Sharks, is it possible we can tune them to 2 separate FPV channels and then feed them into like our Fat Shark goggles? Because that would enable like anyone with some Fat Sharks and a module, if you just set it up on 3D mode, we could all start building some 3D FPV cameras, and we wouldn't just need the Sky Zones. So look, if you know anything about that or 3D, drop it in the comments below.
Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.